What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Phil, how's it been going? How was your weekend? It was pretty nice weather we had.
Yeah, it was, for the most part, it was boring. The weather was nice, but not a lot happening last weekend. It was an okay, pretty average kind of weekend. It was all right. It was all right. Like you said, the weather was really nice. Got out and did some things in the outdoors for a little bit. So, that's pretty much all that happened. So, other than that, it was an all right week.
You mow your lawn?
I did not. I cut it extra short last time. I dropped the blade. There it is. That's the word. I dropped the blade one setting lower to see how that would work, because all the lawns in my neighborhood are cut super short. And I was like, all right, we'll see what that life is like. And I haven't had to cut it really since. So, maybe a little better. My grass definitely isn't good. So either way, it's not great grass. So I guess if it's a little short, it doesn't really matter. So I did not have to, actually.
That's the benefit. I guess that is one of the benefits when it doesn't rain, is the grass doesn't really grow. But I still have the creek behind my house, so my backyard grows like 5 times as quick as my front. Phil, what are we doing? The Buffalo Bandits have won the NLL Championship. Holy crap, what a weekend it was, Phil. I know you and we did not want to leave the arena. I'll be honest, I never thought this day was going to happen, Phil, that we would have to prepare and do an episode for a championship Buffalo team. It's unbelievable feeling. I can't even imagine what the players are feeling like, because they're actually on the field playing, putting their heart, soul, body, blood on the line. We're just up in the stands and behind a microphone talking and cheering for them and critiquing them nonstop. It's a weird sensation and a weird feeling having to host a show about a championship team here in Buffalo, because it's been at least 15 years since this has happened.
Yeah, I remember 2008 and had a little bit of my own personal curse finally lifted, because I was a season ticket holder at the time, 2008, but I did not get to go to the championship game. And since then, I have watched them fail in not 3 straight, but the last 3 times they went to the championship, I watched them fail. So it was not going well for me, and had not witnessed a championship with my own eyes in a very, very ever for that matter. And 2008, even still, like you said, 15 years ago, even if I had watched that one, that's an insane amount of time that has gone past since we've really been able to enjoy a championship, watch a championship, and being able to be there, have it be at home. I know we kind of said, you and I, at this point with our 3rd straight trip to the championship title here, that if they won in Colorado, we were just happy to have it done, over with, be the champions, win it. But my goodness, did it feel amazing doing it at home in front of that crowd, having everybody cheer, and doing it in the fashion that they did, not having it nerve-wracking at all, being able to cheer, the entire 4th quarter for the most part, and just really soaking it all in, enjoying it. And like you said, neither of us left for a very long time after that, just watching the players on the field enjoy the moment and just getting to really enjoy the moment ourselves. And it was just incredible. It's the only way to put it.
Nearly half our lives since we've seen a championship here for a professional sports team that we track and follow, which is kind of mind-blowing to us. And Phil, huge congratulations to you are in order. Like you said, you broke your own drought there. So, that's really the drought we were aiming to end.
With this whole thing.
Huge congratulations to Phil, the co-host of the BSC. So huge congrats. But before we dive into it, we got to get the reminders out of order. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on Twitter, Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out the website at buffalosportscollective.com. Like I said, your 2022-2023 National Lacrosse League champions are your Buffalo Bandits. The drought is over. You have a new 5-time champion. They won 13-4, Phil. I think I have to read that number again, because some people that, for whatever reason, if you weren't watching the game, don't know what the heck you were doing on your Saturday night. 13-4. Yes, they only gave up 4 goals, and Josh Byrne almost outscored the entire Colorado Mammoth by himself. He put up 4. He was back in the lineup. Huge addition back, because they definitely missed him, I think is the good way to put it, because holy crap, what a performance he put on. Smith and Frazier had 2. Nanico, Kluch, Adler, McCulley, and Spanger rounded out 1 each. Vince, holy crap, 46 saves. Shots were 60-50 in favor of Buffalo. Faceoffs, I can't believe this is this close, but it was 13-7 for Buffalo. It felt like Adler was just winning them all. Buffalo 2 for 3 on the power play. Colorado a measly 1 for 1. Phil, let's dive into the game that was. I know it was a few days ago, like 4 or 5 days ago now, but we're one show a week on Wednesdays, and we wanted to build up the suspense and kind of relive this this championship once again.
Yeah, I've done pretty much nothing the last few days except to watch Bandits highlights, from the Rochester game to the 2 Toronto games to the Colorado games, just watching the kind of reliving this last playoffs. And like you mentioned, you had rewatched the entire game. I've rewatched the entire game on delay, or watching the recording on ESPN Plus, and it was kind of interesting and fun to see the announcers. Obviously we don't get that in the arena. We get a completely different, incredible atmosphere, but going back and watching the game again and listening to it with the announcers, kind of watching it as if we were home watching it, it was kind of a different feel to it, interesting feel to it. It was nice to kind of just have that extra variety of it, but I'm so happy that they're on ESPN Plus at this point, and we even get the ability to rewatch that entire game, because I'm sure over summer I will do it again, and throughout the just time that it is available, I will continue to rewatch that game. But like you mentioned, absolutely incredible game. I mean, Vince was huge in the early running in this game. I mean, we had started off a little bit rough with Colorado coming right out of the gate with 3 straight shots, I believe. And then Nanicoke, I think the first shot that Buffalo even had on net was Nanicoke scoring. And then from there, it just kind of took off, and the crowd and everything, the atmosphere was amazing. But I think the team overall, they played extremely well. And I think the biggest thing to me in this game was not only that it was exciting to not have it be close and really, enjoy that as a championship final victory, that you get to really just ease in and watch the game and enjoy all of it. But it was also big for the team itself to finally put Colorado, away, finally, in a big manner. I mean, the times that they have beat them the last few seasons, both times were by 1 goal. Other than that, they've beat you, and they've had your number for a while. So I think it meant a lot to this team to be able to really show up, be the team that we know they can be, and play to this level and just absolutely dominate this team and finally get Colorado out of here and off your back and win the championship. Again, I think the way they did it and just how dominating this performance was, it was very similar to what we saw against Rochester and Toronto. Again, they couldn't seem to figure it out against Colorado. They won that first game by 1. Lost by 6, so we're like, all right, here we go again. Why can they not figure out Colorado? And then finally, they have a dominating performance against a team that has just had their number the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, there was one negative that I just getting out of the way now, because like we said, we cover the theme. We got to get the negatives with the positives, and I want to get the negative out of the way. The Matt Spanger in the penalty, that was the only negative that I have for the entire game, and that's why I'm getting out of the way now. But the penalty he took, and I know the team was more sensitive to players diving around Matt Vince's feet. You heard Steve Priolo say it in the press conference last time, but I think he took it a bit too far, and them scoring that power play goal right at half, with like 2:28 left before halftime, making it 4-2. You're kind of going, okay, going into the second half, Colorado is the team that doesn't go away. They don't die. Will that penalty come back to haunt us? And they were doing a really good job of staying out of the box in the whole first half. That was the only penalty, and it ended up being the only penalty, really, the only power play opportunity that Buffalo gave Colorado the entire game. But you sit there and you go, okay, it's 4-2. Are the wheels going to start coming off? And it surely didn't. So we'll go down to the rundown real quick. Like you said, Josh Byrne returns. Unbelievable. You saw the news a bit earlier in the day than I think I was, and most people were anticipating, because normally they don't break the news until like 4 or 5 o'clock before game time. And you're sitting there at noon, and they broke the news. I'm like, whew, okay. Stop sweating. He's back in the lineup. It stinks that Dylan Robinson had to go back on the IR for it, but you get Josh Byrne back in that lineup. You get more help from the lefties who were struggling mightily without him. We went over the stats on the last Wednesday episode, but I think we got to pat ourselves on the back here, Phil. What's that one thing we were talking about, what they should do on the face-offs? I can't really remember. If you want to refresh my memory, it seems like it somehow got to the Buffalo Bandits organization, and they listened to exactly what we said to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have been watching lacrosse for a while and trying to dissect it, but we've never really played all that much. We don't have a ton of insider information sometimes, but we can still watch. We can still, digest what's going on, try to pick up different things. And something that you and I kind of called out was the fact that Adler was winning so many faceoffs in this series against Colorado that maybe the Bandits would finally switch to a 2-2 split, 2 offense, 2 defense right off the faceoff, because Adler needed an outlet, needed somewhere to go when he was winning them. You could see that he was kind of struggling after he won it as to, what do I do with the ball? And then the team would just kind of go after him, and he'd end up losing a loose ball, and even though he won the faceoff. And finally, right off the bat, we see Ian McKay specifically, who we called out as well, being the guy to be the split player, go up on offense, and then they had a 2-2 split off the faceoff. And honestly, watching that and just seeing it kind of unfold in our eyes, before our eyes after we kind of called it out, was really cool to see, just kind of that we are able to pick up certain things like that. And I mean, again, it's something that we can say, and it's fun to think about, like, oh, this is a strategy they should consider, but then to see them actually take that strategy and use it before, with no prior knowledge of them, that they were going to switch to that strategy, us just kind of calling it out as a good option for them and then using it, was actually really cool to see right off the first faceoff.
So right after that, you kind of saw Colorado dominate possession for the first minute and a half. Let me double check. Yeah, about a minute and a half of coverage
3
there.
Loose balls.
Yeah, and the majority of the ones that they didn't pick up, the ball went out of play and it reset the clock. It just happened to take a weird bounce off Matt Vince or a weird bounce off one of the defenders and just barely grazed the net. And you're sitting in the stands going, how is it the Buffalo hasn't touched the ball yet? Like, it's a minute and a half into the game. What's going on? But then you said Nanico comes down, first shot of the game for Buffalo, right down the middle of Colorado's runway. Minute 40 into the game, sets the place on absolute fire. And I don't think there was a better person or a better player to start off the fireworks in Banditland than Tehoka Nanico. With all of the build up towards this game, you saw the emotion before the game, the interviews he was doing about how much it would mean to him to bring a championship to Buffalo. So I don't think anybody else, the script was written perfectly for this, Phil. Like, they got the script and they wrote it perfectly. Nanico scoring the first goal in the entire game, just pinpoint perfect Hollywood start to a great movie.
Especially with Josh Byrne giving him the pass. I mean, right off the bat, you see a few defenders drift right toward Josh Byrne, and then Nanico gets on the field late. Everyone's kind of paying attention to what Byrne's going to do, which is exactly what he does and what we needed him to do on that left side, which left Nanico wide open on the right side, sprinting right down the middle. Amazing first goal. I mean, all you needed was Ward to come up with like a massive save right there, and the game might be a little bit different, but Nanico just sprints down, buries it, and the Bandits were off and running.
So 5:06 into the game, what hampered the Buffalo Bandits a lot in game 2 was kind of poking its little nose out, I would call it. The lead to Robinson to tie it 1-1. Vince had no chance. It seemed like, I think it was Spanger, and I don't know who the other defender was. Maybe it was Justin Robinson. It might have been Justin Robinson, where they missed on the switch off, or, switching off players or something like that. And it got Robinson wide open in front of the net. There was no opportunity whatsoever. It was a great pass by Lee as well. And it ties up 1-1. Phil, that was the closest Colorado would get to a lead in this game, was the 1-1 besides the 0-0 to start, because Bucky came down. He hit another post. The man just was so unlucky, though, at game 2 and game 3. It's just, I've never seen a player hit the post as many times as him. Byrne, rebound, power play goal from 20 feet out with 0.2 seconds left on the clock to take that 2-1 lead. And then it was just off to the races. Frazier back-to-back in the second period, or second quarter. Like we said, Colorado would cut it to 4-2, but that whole first half, it felt a bit more tense than I probably think it should have been. Rewatching the game, it was kind of like Vince was playing out of his mind. The defense were standing up Colorado nonstop. The offense was slowly getting going, but they were getting inside. You could tell this offense was different than game 2, because not just they were not having to be on the penalty kill the majority of the time, but they were getting in front of Ward. They were getting those chances. They just weren't finishing on them. But you kind of felt good in the first half. The nerves were still fully there because it's 4-2 in the first half, but the defense was playing ungodly. Vince was playing unbelievable. The only goal that he really gave up was that that power play goal, which, I mean, it was a laser from McLaughlin at the top, and then that one that he had no chance on with the Robinson one, like I said. But the first half, watching it back, you could tell Buffalo was just, they were dominating possession and dominating on the defensive end.
You could tell Vince made a physical adjustment, and kind of watching him make the adjustment from game 2 to game 3 was really cool. I mean, you could see that Colorado still had a lot of good chances in tight, and Vince was just ready for every single one of them. I know the defense did a really, really good job, especially in the first half. Colorado did not have a lot of shots on net, but they did still have some very quality chances that Vince had to put up and had to stop, and they had some great diving looks, but every single time that they went for that diving look, he was right there, knew exactly what they were going to do, because that's what they were doing most of game 2. They scored a lot by going left to right and then diving back the other way. So Vince is shifting one way, they dive back the other way that he just came from, and that's kind of how they got on top of him in game 2. And in game 3, you could see him ready for that play every single time. He just kept throwing the left shoulder up, kept going with them every single time they dove. He was like, all right, I'm right here with you. You're not going to score. And it was really cool seeing him make that physical adjustment between game 2 and game 3. And like you said, he was just absolutely dialed in. This was not going to be taken from him in this game. And then that burn shot from way out, I watched it so many times. You could see in the one angle that it was deflected by the defender, and then that's kind of why it went in. The original shot looked like it was going to go right at Ward. Ward was kind of ready for it, and then the defender has it tip off his stick and go in. And the very first time I watched it, I mean, from watching it live, obviously you're like, wow, heck of a play, great goal. I didn't really see it deflect when we were at the arena, but then watching the replay, the first replay that shows that it's really far out, you still don't really see it. The second one where it shows that he deflected it, I was very confused at first why the defender was that upset about letting a goal in. I mean, obviously, 0.2 seconds left, you never want to let that goal in. It's still a bummer. So I could see just being upset that a goal scored at all. But I was like, okay, he was right by Ward. It wasn't really his fault. But then seeing the ball deflect off of his stick when he's trying to catch a shot that Ward was kind of prepared for and ready for, just seeing his frustration, I was like, all right, well, that makes a lot more sense. I'm not sure why you would try to catch a shot like that. I know players catch shots actually quite often. We've even seen a few Bandits players. I mean, it's amazing when they do it. Just a shot is ripped and then they just kind of catch it in their stick and run off. You're like, all right, that's pretty interesting. But in that situation with 0.2 left, I'm not really sure why you're trying to block a shot from Josh Byrne that far out. But it worked out to the Bandits' advantage.
Yeah, I think it's just instinct at that point. No matter if you're a professional or not, I think it's just instinct to try to block it there. But
yeah.
Start of the third, Byrne, 2 goals. First one, 28 seconds into the third, which, Phil, it ended up being the game winner. Can you believe the game winner happened 28 seconds into the third? I can't, but it actually did. But both of the shots were low into the right leg of Ward. And I think that they must have picked something up where, hey, if we're going to shoot wide on Ward, let's get low. And both of the shots were nearly identical. I think the first one was a little bit of a bouncer. The second one was, I don't know, maybe 6 inches off the ground, something like that. But you get those ones. You get the McLaughlin shot that was just one heck of a shot. I don't know how he threw out that twister from where he did to bounce it over Vince's shoulder, but it's 6-3, one heck of a shot. Like I said, monster save by Vince right after the TV timeout in the transition game by Lee. I think that was one of the only true chances in the transition game. Josh Byrne hustled back on the transition twice, I think it was, and both times he paid the price. But massive face-off by Adler. 29 seconds later, Byrne nets his 4th one. That was his last one of the game. But 8-3 after 3, that place was feeling it. You could tell they were ready to just absolutely explode.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and this is kind of a general question as well as, because I went back and watched kind of the Rochester and Toronto games. And I know Rochester is a little different, so I guess we'll kind of zero in on Toronto and Colorado. But even 8-3, I mean, like you said, 4-2 at half, yes, the Bandits looked really good, but one goal out of halftime and you're looking at 4-3, you're only up by one. That does not feel good. So 4-2, even though they played really well, doesn't feel good. 8-3 after 3. Like, to you, in lacrosse, against these really good teams in a playoff scenario, Toronto, Colorado, the Bandits were able to get up on both of them in certain games by a lot. When did you feel comfortable at all, or start to like kind of, okay, this is ours, it's over, we got this, there's no way they're losing this? Like, what lead? I know each game's a little different because it depends on what team you're playing. Like this one, Colorado, like we know, is that extremely pesky team that loves to come back late in the game. So this one felt a little bit different, obviously being a championship game. But like, is there a certain number in lacrosse to you that you're looking for? Or in general, was there a time in this game that you felt like you could breathe a little bit? You're like, all right, the comeback's probably not happening.
In general, if you want to talk generality, that's the right word, Phil, right? Yep, English
Sure.
dictionary, boom, nailed it. But I think usually if you're up by, 6 with maybe 9 or 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, you're probably feeling pretty good. I can tell you exactly when I felt for sure in this game in 1 second. Kluch, power play in the fourth, 9-3. Zed Williams then ran right through the burn, and credit to Justin Martin. I've been more hard on him, but I think he stepped up his game in the playoffs. I think he had a bit more of a rough down the stretch in the regular season type of season for him, but in the playoffs, oh my God, he's played unbelievable. Went right after Zed Williams. Wardle, the dunk goal that, did it really go in? It didn't end up mattering, but it didn't ever look like it actually crossed the line. But when you call it a goal, how are you going to overturn it? This moment right here that I'm going to be mentioning is when I feel like it was over. And this is when I really felt like, okay, they're winning the championship. Adler wins the faceoff. It goes along the boards right by the Buffalo bench. McKay, I don't know how the heck he digs this out, but he does it. He flips it to Matt Spanger. Spanger goes down 10-4. That is when the place erupted, and that is the exact moment when I'm standing there cheering for Matt Spanger going, they're going to do it. They're going to stinking win this title. It was, my soul left my body, Phil, when that happened. I'm like, oh my God, it's over. Like, Colorado can't come back from this deficit. It's done. It's over. I couldn't believe it. It was an unbelievable moment at that point, taking the 10-4 lead, going, they can't come back from this. Matt Vince is playing too amazing. The defense is playing too amazing. That, for sure, was when I was like, oh my God, the trophy's coming to Buffalo.
Yeah, Chris Cloutier's power play goal to make it 9-3, and then Wardle scored to make it 9-4 about 27 seconds after that. And you're like, again, like you said, I don't think a 5-goal lead's all that comfortable. I agree with 6 as well. I don't love 5 in lacrosse. I mean, anything below that, you're like, all right, there's definitely still a chance they can come back. But like you just said, I think it was, 19 seconds later, Spanger scores to make it 10-4, and that was just that. I agree. I think that was it. Every single time Colorado came back with a goal, the Bandits were right there to score immediately after. The other one in the third quarter when McLaughlin scored to make it 6-3, Josh Byrne came right back within about 30 seconds to make it 7-3. So very similar to Game 2 in Colorado, where every single time the Bandits scored, Colorado was right there to score immediately after and kill any kind of momentum that they had. The Bandits did it right back to Colorado in this game. Obviously, it's pretty easy when they only score 4, but the big thing is scoring so quickly after to just kind of deflate Colorado right away. Again, both goals in the second half that Colorado scored, Bandits answered within 30 seconds, and both of them right back. And I think, like you said, once it hit 10-4 and that Spanger goal right after that Wardle goal, I think I agree. I think that's when it was over. And then at that point, McCulley and Adler, the party was on.
Yeah, I'm glad you transitioned to that, because these next 2 goals, the McCulley and Adler
Just
goals,
fun.
It felt so good because McCulley's that hard-working, grind-it out. They even said it on the broadcast because, like you said, I rewatched it, not just to feel those emotions again, but to also, catch the stuff that I missed when you're in the arena. Like, you're kind of enjoying the experience with it, but you miss some things, so I wanted to rewatch it also for this episode. But McCulley, a minute 18 after Matt Spanger scores, he gets that quick stick in the air, and I think they said it on the broadcast that they were working on that before the game, trying to know that that's how you you defeat Ward. We said it in this podcast. You got to get Ward uncomfortable moving, and that quick stick could come valuable here. They finally connected on it. I can't remember. I can't even count how many opportunities that they were just so close the entire finals to making that one work. He snagged it out of air. I think he was in the air when he shot it. It felt so good. But then I think the entire arena, when Max Adler scored, I think that's when it set into all 18,296 people that were in attendance that night. I think that's when they all could just take out a giant breath and just go, they're going to do it. I think that's when the entire collective of Banditland realized clean face-off, going down, checks by his shoulder, 5 seconds after McCulley scores. I have been to a lot of games, a lot of big-time games in Banditland. I have never felt the building that explosive. And I know there's a bunch of people that were at the Odd. Sorry, I was 4 years old. Wasn't there. Don't hold it against me. But as far as the games that I've been a part of at KeyBank Center.
Arena.
KeyBank Center. And you can exclude the Sabres because we're just talking about the Bandits here. I will go on record. I don't think the building has ever been as loud than when Max Adler won that, goes down, and just beats Dylan Ward clean. And his little Celio just like pumping his fist, just going, oh yeah. And as soon as he gets ready, he just gets sewn back in and go to that face-off. That is the biggest memory I will take from this game, besides everything that happened after the game with the cup raising, the trophy raising and everything. That is the moment that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, that goal there.
Yeah, I think right around there is when I turned to my brother, and exactly like you said, you're just like, they're going to do it. Like, this is it. They are going to finally bring it home after all this time. I think, like you said, I think the 10-4 goal kind of sealed it. McCulley's was fantastic, and like you said, couldn't have happened to a better guy. Doing all the dirty work, does not get a lot of credit for what he does because it just doesn't show up on the score sheet, so it can be easily overlooked, all the amazing plays he does. And even a player like Josh Byrne consistently calls out McCulley in the celebrations when he scores a goal, knowing that McCulley set a hard pick for him. He immediately points to him, gets him over in the circle, calls him out because he knows all the work that McCulley's doing for him. So incredible for him to get that goal as well. But as soon as Adler scored that, like you said, you could tell it was finally relaxing, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's been this long, and they're finally going to bring it home. And again, couldn't happen to a nicer guy in Adler as well, doing another thing that just doesn't often get as much credit as it deserves sometimes, with the face-off winning and how incredible he played as a series throughout the entire championship, finally getting his first ever playoff goal in that situation. Like you said, it's kind of fun to see a goal happen so quick off the face-off, because most times you score a goal, all those guys celebrate, and they go to the bench. In this situation, you score a goal, and all those guys just kind of hang around on the field, and he just slowly, like a boss, walked back into the face-off circle. And I wonder, as Adler, and you and I have never taken face-offs, but I wonder what that feels like going back into the face-off, going up against the guy that you just beat clean, sprinted down and scored a goal, and then just going to see him immediately again. Like, you have to be so confident and have probably just a lot of kind of swagger walking back into that face-off circle after cleanly winning a face-off and scoring a goal in a championship game.
That's the exact word I was going to use, is he had to have, he didn't show it on his face, but you knew walking in, they did the zoom up of him.
Going back into that face-off circle.
He's fixing his helmet. He's got that stone face on, but you got to tell, like, he's looking at this guy just going, you suck, dude. Like, I just beat you clean, went down and beat the defending finals MVP clean, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat you again. But Dane Smith capped off the night 13-4 with 5:41 to go. But I think that was just kind of like not even the cherry on top. It was kind of just like, hey, it's already served. It's on your plate, and we're going to steal your ice cream as well, because I think everybody knew it after Adler's. It was just the final 5 minutes and 41 seconds was the longest 5 minutes and 41 seconds in an NLL game in history, because it just took so long. I mean, it wasn't until McKay dug out that loose ball and he went to half, and you just see Steve Priolo turn to Matt Vince, and they had that moment. And I wish that the camera would have zoomed out more, because I would have loved to see just a picture perfect-esque picture of Steve Priolo just staring back, pointing at Matt Vince, kind of almost going like, finally, like, thank you. What is it, 13 years of playing with this team, and I finally get the cup, and it feels so good to finally get over that hump. But like, we can transition into the job that the defense and Matt Vince did. It was, you can't say enough. I mean, they were in the face of Colorado all night. They wouldn't let him in close at all. It was a flip of the script from game 2. It was almost like, I know it didn't happen, and I know the players will, they would never do this, but it was almost like, I don't care about game 2. It's not going to feel right unless you win it in game 3 in Banditland. That's kind of what it felt like, even though I know that's not what happened. 4 caused turnovers, 6 block shots. Phil, that once dynamic offense of Colorado that scored 16 goals in week 2, Lee had 1 point on 8 shots. Wardle, 1 goal on 1 shot that didn't even look like it went in. Zed Williams, the Bandit kryptonite, 1 point on 11 shots. The righties went 2 assists on 25 shots, 19 of them from Lee and Williams. The job of Bryce Sweeting, Justin Martin, Ian McKay, Justin Robinson, all the ones that were covering those righties, and I'm not even excluding the people that covered the lefties. It's just the job that they did on Ryan Lee and Zed Williams. Even throw Tyson Gibson in there, who had 6 shots. The only one that really killed you was McLaughlin, and he had 3 points on 9 shots, and that's killing you. I mean, the job that they did. Ian McKay, 10 loose balls, 1 block. Nick Weiss, 7 loose balls, 2 block shots. The man of the hour, though, the hardest working guy out there that was not going to be defeated, Steve Priolo, 2 assists, 14 loose balls, a block shot, and 3 caused turnovers. His first caused turnovers in the finals. First caused turnovers, he might have had one in game 1, so I take that back, but he had no caused turnovers versus Toronto. I know that for a fact. 3 caused turnovers in this game. That man was on a mission, and the job that the defense and Matt Vince did to set a record of the lowest goals against in an NLL finals, I can't believe what I watched. It was just, the offense was amazing, but the defense and Matt Vince were just even better than the offense.
And like you said, switching it from 16 goals you just let in the game before, and even in game 1 you allowed 12. I guess you won, but it was 13-12. It was a really close game. You still allowed more than you're used to for this team. So this was really the first game that they were able to completely shut down Colorado, and it was in, obviously, the all-important game 3. So to see them kind of completely flip the script from game 1 and 2, and what Colorado's been doing to this team for years now. We haven't really seen the Buffalo defense be able to stop Colorado's offense once. Even when they won last year, it was still, 15-14, I think they won the first game?
Yes.
So even those ones, you didn't stop their offense. Yes, you won the game, and that's great, but this is the first time, and even during the season, Colorado put up 13 goals against you in the regular season. So this is really the first time in 2 years that we've really seen this defense and Matt Vince finally get a stranglehold on Colorado's offense, and the way they did it, the way they were able to clamp down, like you said, knocking Lee out, knocking Williams out, and just Vince playing absolutely out of his mind and just absolutely would not be denied a championship. But just the way they were able to finally figure this team out, I think it's incredible that after 2 years, all these games, all these times you've seen this team, especially in the playoffs, especially in the championship series, and finally game 3 in the second straight championship is when you figure it out. I mean, if you're going to take some time to figure it out, that's definitely the time you want to do it. And it's just insane that, to think that this arguably could have been a 3-goal game, depending on how you see that one challenged play. But even without that, 4 goals, 2 goals less than any other time in a NLL final, the lowest score for goals allowed. It's just incredible what that defense and Matt Vince were able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to talk on Steve Priolo again, the man of the hour in the playoffs besides Matt Vince. I mean, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points, 58 loose balls, 5 caused turnovers, and 6 blocks in the playoffs. Just unbelievable. Some defenders don't even put that up in a single season, and he did it in, 6 games in the finals. Just unbelievable what he was able to accomplish. Adam Levy, he put out 3rd largest margin of victory in an NLL finals. Matt Vince, like I said, fewest goals allowed in NLL playoff history. But I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about here is I guess not the biggest, but the last thing I want to mention before we kind of talk about our own feelings towards the game and how it meant and everything else with that is I think we said it towards the end of the podcast on Wednesday, and I don't think we hit it hard enough of how big of a change this would be with Josh Byrne coming back to the offense and how much that would help the lefties. I don't think we addressed how much pushing Ian McKay back to defense and in the transition game helped that area as well. I mean, you saw the change. Josh Byrne comes back, they put up 13 goals. Ian McKay goes back to defense and transition, they gave up 4 goals. I think, yes, Ian McKay is great at filling in on forward, but you can tell how much he means to that defense and that transition game back on defense by allowing 4 goals as a group back there. It's just, I don't think we did it enough justice to talk about in the last Wednesday episode of how much that would mean to a game this important in the finals.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, the 2 games against Colorado that he is up on forward that Josh Byrne didn't play, the defense struggled a little bit. And the series before that, Rochester and both Toronto games when Josh Byrne was in, obviously the offense did better, but like you said, the defense also looked that much better when McKay was able to be that transition guy. And that's the other thing. He also helps push the offense quite a bit. Yes, his defense is amazing, as kind of shown in Game 3 there, and I do think he is a huge backbone of that defense as well. But his transition game, he's one of the true transition players on this team. I think he also helps push the pace of the offense in those situations. He might not get the true, kind of Calgary roughneck type transition goals that you kind of expect. When you think of transition, oftentimes you think simply a 2-on-1 really fast break, scoring a goal. Like that's transition, and not always what transition means. I mean, simply transitioning from defense to offense. Sometimes he allows other offensive players to take a shift off, rest a little bit, or he can even do a good job just transitioning from defense to offense in a very quick manner, getting the team out there and just pushing the pace a little bit. So to have him back on defense looking amazing, and then even just assisting the transition game, and then still playing a little bit of offense when he got the opportunity. Like you said, I don't think we did enough credit of what McKay really means being back on that defense and what having Josh Byrne meant not only to the offense, but McKay to the defense as well.
So, Phil, I think we talked and relived the game as much as we can. I think we talked about all the main points that we wanted to. I think it's time to talk about what happened after the game and the experience that those players had about being on the field and having all their family and friends come down on the field and just experience that with them, and each one of the players being able to raise that trophy and get that applause from the fans. But I think the biggest thing that I noticed, and I don't know who snapped the picture, but it's Johnny T standing on the restraining line, watching all of his players take that opportunity to raise the cup. The trophy. I don't know. We keep calling it the cup. It used to be a cup, but now it's a trophy. But just it shows the true leadership of a person like that. I mean, he's experienced 4 of those victories as a player. It's his first as a coach, but I think he takes that role as being a head coach and a mentor for these guys. And I think anybody else, but I guess out of everybody, he knows how much this means to those players after the heartbreak they experienced in 16 and then 19 for most of these guys. And then definitely for the majority of these guys in 2022, the heartbreak they experienced and then the euphoric joy that they experienced on Saturday night. Him standing back and not wanting any of the spotlight, wanting all the attention on them, that to me shows the true leadership of a guy like that. And I want to give him as many compliments as I can. I gave him a hard time for his team playing out of character in Game 2. My God, did he right the ship in Game 3. And him and Priolo, I mean, they flipped the script in Game 2. The leadership he showed, I think it was even Nick Weiss was giving the refs a hard time. Steve Priolo goes over, rips him, and just pretty much just throws him to the bench and just going, dude, shut up. We got to win this thing. No stupid penalties. But Johnny T standing at the restraining line, watching all his players just with that smile on his face, that just felt really good to me.
And first off, I think it is still the cup. So you were correct in saying
that's fine.
I believe it is still the cup. But I mean, even what he's been able to do as a coach, I mean, oftentimes we see players try to transition to coaches, and sometimes it simply does not translate. It's not the easiest thing going from a player to a coach. They're very different types of beasts and how to manage players. I mean, you can be an extremely good player, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach. And now in his 4th year as a coach, he's been to 3 straight finals, finally winning one. So, I mean, yes, you and I give him a lot of credit for how incredible he has been with this team and just everything that they've been able to go through, especially this year with the different injuries and everything. But even just, again, the leader he is, I mean, even the leader he became toward the end of his career as a player, he was still playing at an extremely high level for his age, and in general throughout the entire year or season and league, he was still playing at a very high level. But I mean, toward the end of his career, you could tell he kind of took over that player coach, mentality where you're a little bit of both. I mean, we see Matt Vince do it all the time with his guys on defense, just kind of coaching them while still playing at an extremely high level. So I think the transition for him from player to coach wasn't quite as jarring as it might be for some other people, but still exactly what you said, the kind of just leader he is as a player that he was and the coach that he currently is, and just being able to understand what this moment means to all those guys. And I mean, he understands what it's like to win, but at the same time, he had the ability to kind of step back. I mean, it's his first championship as a coach, and I'm sure that means a lot to him. I mean, it's still a very big milestone in his own career, especially going to 3 straight. I mean, obviously, as a coach, you feel a lot of that pressure of, are you guys ever going to do it? Are you the coach for the job? Can you get them over that hump? So obviously, he's feeling a lot of emotions getting his first title as a coach, but to see him be able to kind of put that aside and put it to the back burner and just kind of let these players who have been on this team, a lot of these guys for so long being on the same team together, finally enjoy getting over that hump and winning the championship, and just letting him kind of sit back and, like you said, just watching his team and all of his players kind of enjoy the moment. It was really cool to see just kind of the leader and guy that Johnny Tavares is.
So, I mean, I'll just talk for a split second on the feelings that I experienced, but I kind of want to keep it on the players because who am I? I didn't play in the game whatsoever. I'm just talking behind a microphone for this, but I didn't want to leave that arena because I don't know what this team looks like next year. Who knows? What the Bills are going to do in the playoffs? Who knows? What are the Sabres going to look like next year? Who knows?
They're going to make the
championships are never a given thing. To be in attendance for one of those, I didn't want that feeling in that moment to end. I mean, it's weird to say as a person that covers the team and critiques the team and compliments the team and whatever, but to feel they somehow made it feel like the fans were as invested as the team was. And I think that shows what close-knit the team, the community, the city of Buffalo is all in this together kind of mentality. But I mean, we didn't leave the arena till probably an hour and a half after the game officially ended. I mean, there wasn't much going on in the field besides a bunch of players hanging out with each other and hanging out with families and friends and girlfriends and wives and kids and all that kind of stuff. And there wasn't really much to watch. It was just, I didn't want that moment and that feeling to end because who knows? It's been 15 years since they won a championship. Who knows? I mean, you kind of expect because they got a young core, but a lot of these guys got to get re-signed. What's going to be happening in net? All that kind of stuff. But that's for future episodes. But it's kind of like you don't know what the future holds for a team like this. Colorado got back, but they didn't finish the job. I keep saying it, but you don't want that moment and that feeling to end. And I think that's a big reason why we're just standing there and soaking in the whole experience of just, I think we stay there as long as we did last year, except, much different emotions.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said, you don't want to take it for granted. I mean, I know sometimes we can get critical of the team, and we obviously as fans can be very critical of the team because you want to see them succeed. You want to see them win, but even the fact that you have the luxury of going to 3 straight finals is mind-blowing in its own right. Even if they lost this time, yes, it would have been obviously frustrating. You have a lot of questions. What's going on? Why can't they get over it? But they won, so we don't talk about that. But just even the ability as a fan to watch this team go to 3 straight finals is something that doesn't happen to other teams. I mean, that's the East Conference, East Division hasn't had a different team go to the finals for 3 straight years. And with the COVID season in there, it's been 4 years since the East has had anybody but the Bandits. So obviously, being a Bandits fan, that feels amazing. But if you're a Toronto fan and you're just watching the Bandits again go, like your team just can't get over that hump of even getting to the championship. So just even having the luxury of going to 3 finals alone is incredible. And then finally getting that feeling, like you said, of winning it all, and just, you don't know when that feeling is going to come back. You don't know when that atmosphere is going to come back. I mean, yes, we can talk about the future all you want, but it's been 15 years. It took this team that is so strong and so talented 3 straight trips to finally win that championship, and you just don't know if or when it's going to happen again. So like you said, just not wanting to leave, and even the players constantly thanking Bandit Land, like you mentioned, just kind of making the fans feel truly a part of it. I mean, even Priolo's on-field interview where he was just kind of like looking up at the fans and saying just like, look at this place, feel this place, and just kind of was at a loss of words for a moment as he just kind of stood there and looked around and everyone was cheering. Just that atmosphere, and just, even though, like you said, it's all about the players, it's what it means to them, and seeing them finally win it. I mean, so many of these guys have been on this team for so long, and you kind of feel for them as well, just getting to see them hold it up finally. But even just letting the players know that Bandit Land, like what it means to them and what it means winning at home, and just kind of having the fans be as much a part of that celebration as possible was really cool. And like you said, did not want to leave. It was tough leaving in a good way, unlike last year where it was tough leaving because it was miserable.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Banditland. That place was absolutely rocking. Like the first 5-10 minutes into the game, you couldn't hear yourself talk. And I was like, if the rest of the game is like this, that would be incredible. And yes, there were some moments of just, okay, Colorado scored, it's 1-1. It kind of got deafening silence. But then you picked it right back up. And I loved every aspect of it. But let's get back to the players. Like we said, I couldn't be happier for guys like Steve Priolo, Nick Weiss, Dane Smith, who the guys that were a part of 2016 and 19 and 22, and I think they hate us bringing those up because of the bitter feeling in there, but to finally get over that edge and finally win one on their 4th try, having Vince sign here, who's, is 30 minutes from the arena, lives 30 minutes from the arena, to finally get one for the reason that he came here. He wanted to bring the championship to Buffalo, and he finally accomplished that. For a guy like Kyle Buchanan, finally getting his first one, 35 years old. If he comes back, he's going to be 36 in that season. But it just felt so amazing for those type of players. Then you go to the guys like Josh Byrne, finally getting back in Game 3. He did that interview where he said he called up Dane Smith and was in tears because he couldn't play in Game 1, just to show how much that means to him. Like the Chris Cloutier, who was a part of those seasons. The Tehoka Nanticoke was a ball boy for the team, how much it felt for him. The guys like Ian McKay and even like the more depth players, like the role players like Justin Robinson and Justin Martin. I mean, Justin Robinson coming back from that injury. Bryce Sweeting played an unbelievable finals. Just I can't name all the guys, but just an unbelievable experience. And then I think it means more to me that they won that because you see the quality of players that they have and the characteristics that they have, because in my opinion, they are better people than they are lacrosse players, and they are ungodly top of the world lacrosse players, but I think they're even better people because you see guys like Dane Smith and Josh Byrne, who just won the championship the night before, are out with youth lacrosse, coaching the next wave of lacrosse players up and bring the trophy. That's an experience and a moment those kids are never going to forget. Like, hey, these guys just won a championship. They could have phoned it in and go, hey, we're hungover, we can't come, we're not showing up. But to come out the next morning, and that's what makes this championship for them mean so much more, because of everything they do in the community and how much that means to them and the quality of people they are. I don't think we can talk up how in love with the community they are, but how much work they put in as well.
I'll be honest, I don't even know if I have much else to add to that. As you continue to talk, you just kind of picked over all the points ahead, but pretty much, yeah. I mean, congratulations to the entire team and even some of the coaches. I mean, you have Cosmo on the bench, you have Dietrich on the bench. I mean, players or coaches that are now used to be players. I don't think Cosmo ever won. Obviously, he did not win one with the Bandits, but he was a longtime goalie for the Bandits as well. So even those guys, I mean, yes, they're slightly forgotten as coaches, but they used to be players for the Bandits as well, and I don't think Cosmo ever got one with Buffalo when he was an active player, so to see him as a coach finally get one means a lot as well, and just, like you said, I mean, just the character of guys, I mean, just seeing the way that this team reacted to this win, I mean, obviously everyone's excited to get a championship victory, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be excited, but like you said, just felt so good seeing so many of these players have been here for so long. And even if they have been, are newer, like you mentioned as well, some of the younger guys, just seeing this extremely close-knit team that couldn't get over the hump last year finally win that championship and just get that feeling of what it means to finally win it and be on top. And just, like you said, couldn't be happier for the team and what they mean to the community and just the character of players that they are.
So, Phil, we got one more quick segment left. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about this game or anything else before we move on to this last segment here?
I do have one kind of question. It's
okay.
Future-ish, but it's not about the team themselves, not about players. We don't talk about that yet. And we will probably revisit this question as well down the line. But I just want in the moment, you just want it kind of a reaction. The banner's going up next year, as we know. First off, I think they should take all the banners down and get the Bandits bigger banners because I don't like that they're smaller than the rest of the arena when they're the ones who actually have championships. I understand they're a smaller league, but get them bigger banners. It's ridiculous to me. But outside of that, you get to raise the banner. You get to do in front of a different away team. You get to pick any team in the NLL. Who are you raising this banner in front of?
Toronto.
Yeah, that was my go-to.
It might change once we know the opponent, because I don't know what the West Coast is going to look like. I haven't dug in to see if it's similar to like the NFL where you face a team in a different division based on your finish. So that might be true. Maybe we're facing San Diego and Calgary next year. But I mean, as it stands, the guaranteed team you're facing, it's Toronto. It's definitely Toronto, and you're gonna push your face in it and make them remember exactly what you did to them in Game 1 and Game 2 of the semis,
and for the last multiple years. Yeah, I was also leaning Toronto. I don't think I would have wanted Colorado as like the first. I think that'd be kind of weird. But I think if I had to pick one, it would have been Toronto. And it looks like, oh man, they did not play a home game for a little bit. So the first home game for
it was a while,
Colorado,
wasn't it? Like January?
Yeah, it was they played December 3rd, December 17th, and then January 7th. It was about a month into the season with their weird, we don't have to get into NLL scheduling anytime soon, but they played against Calgary Roughnecks and won 9-8 at home. So it was a West Coast team.
So like you said, Phil, we're definitely going to have to revisit that question and a lot of other things in the offseason. And there was a moment towards the end of the game where I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, but we can bring that up later because we're going to keep this positive. But there was a moment in there where I turned to Pat and my wife Brooke and just went, no, 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 no. So if you know exactly what I mean and you're listening to this and you felt the same emotions, it definitely was a scary moment. But we'll go over the final segment here. Milestones for Game 3. Final time this year you get to hear me go over all these milestones, but it's a positive one. Matt Vince is now at 30 career playoff wins. Chris Cloutier did pass 100 career playoff shots. Steve Priolo passes 200 career loose balls. Nick Weiss is over 100 career loose balls for the playoffs. Josh Byrne is now in 4th place. He did pass Micah Kersey for playoff in team playoff history with goals. He also did pass Mark Stainhouse for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history in assists. Ian McKay did pass Rich Kilgore for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history in loose balls. Johnny T is now tied with Darius Kilgore for most playoff wins in Buffalo Bandits history. The following players did tie Pat McCready for playoff games played in Buffalo Bandits history. Those are Chase Frazier, Matt Spanger, Matt Vince, and Justin Martin. Dane Smith did tie Rich Kilgore and Billy D. Smith for 4th place in games played in Buffalo Bandits history. He did pass Mark Stainhouse for 2nd in Buffalo Bandits history in goals. Chris Cloutier, he did pass Darius Kilgore for 6th place, and he also did tie Micah Kersey for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits playoff history. Steve Priolo, he did tie Chris Corbeil for 4th place in NLL playoff history. Max Adler did pass Tyler Burton for 7th place in NLL history in face-off wins. Steve Priolo did pass Pat McCready for 4th place in NLL history in loose balls. And Dane Smith is your new single postseason NLL points leader with 49 in a postseason. He smashed the old record of 42.
I was going to say, we didn't really mention that right there. I mean, Dane Smith and how incredibly he played throughout the championship series, demolishing the previous playoff record in points. I mean, throughout the entire playoffs, he was incredible. I mean, that game 1 performance against Colorado where he pretty much had to put the team on his back. Doesn't often score a lot of goals in a game. He's usually the setup man, but in that game without Josh Byrne, throws 5 goals in like it's nothing and really helps lead the offense to victory. He's another one that I know he mentions all the time that the records don't matter, the points don't matter, the awards don't matter unless you get that championship. And I completely understand that idea and that thought because, I mean, even look at the championship or the single record for postseason points in the championship series. McLaughlin just had it last year, and then Dane Smith comes through this year and demolishes it. So already 1 year apart, it's broken. Dane Smith's single season point record was almost broken this year. So to see a player, like sometimes as fans, we can kind of say like, oh, that's nice to say, but do you really mean that those individual records don't matter to you? And I think they don't, because records are there to fall. They're constantly broken multiple times a year, multiple seasons, that records continually progress and get better. But what doesn't change is having that banner up in the rafters that will be there forever. So for everything that he has done, for everything that he kind of said about this team and trying to will this team to a championship, it was really great to see him get the NLL Championship Series MVP and just even breaking that single season NLL playoff points record was also incredible. But just what he has meant to this team and finally getting that championship that he has been fighting so hard for so long with a lot of these players, it was great to see.
So another thing that will be etched in history forever is our final BSC weekly MVP for the summer. We will pick that back up in September, but the Buffalo Bandits organization, the whole organization wins the MVP this week. I mean, to accomplish what they did after the long drought they had, I think it's only rightfully so that we give it to the entire organization rather than just one player, because you can't win a championship without every single person buying in and every single person in the organization contributing in some way or another. So the entire Buffalo Bandits organization, you are the final installment of the BSC MVP for this week.
And Banditland, congratulations as well.
You earned it. You were raucous all year long. Highest attendance once again. It'll never be broken. Nobody else will ever compete with you. Colorado claims you're the loud house, but it was pretty quiet when I watched on TV. From what I heard from the fans there, it was pretty quiet as well. It was deafening in Banditland in Game 1, but for sure in Game 3.
The entire game.
So, Phil, kind of like Game 3, I don't really want this to end because I don't want the memories to end, but on next Wednesday's show, we get to kind of relive the whole season with our BSC Awards show, and it is a show dedicated fully to the 2022-23 season of the Buffalo Bandits, where we get to hand out awards, and we're going to put it out on social media on Friday, but the one award we're going to need your help with is the Fan Favorite Player Award, and we're going to put it on all the socials. It's going to be a grand total vote. So if you have one player in particular you want to vote for, you throw that out on our social media sites. We'll count the total up, and next Wednesday we'll announce who the Fan Favorite Award goes to this year. But we got a lot of nominees and a lot of tuxedos to try on and wear and get ready for our Wednesday show, Phil.
We often have a certain award that I assume is coming back up, and that's often, what is your favorite memory or favorite moment of the year?
Pretty easy.
I don't know if there's going to be too many nominees this year for that award.
I think there'll be a lot of nominees, but I don't know if there's going to be anybody
Much
that really
competition.
competes with. Yeah, it's going to be a clear front runner. But Phil, yeah, the only other thing I really want to add was I had the opportunity to jump on Talking Buffalo with Pat Moran just yesterday. Well, on Monday, but the episode came out on Tuesday. So if you haven't listened to that, you can search Talking Buffalo wherever you want. We talk Bills and Sabres, but more importantly, I dragged it out of him and we were able to talk about the Buffalo Bandits. No, he wanted me on as well to talk about the Buffalo Bandits, but it felt really surreal to get on a podcast of that magnitude and talk Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. I think that just shows how far the game has come and how far this team has come, and it's just going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to try to push it as far as we can from the little podcast we have here in Buffalo. So, Phil, if there's nothing else, we're going to end the show here, very sadly, but thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow along with us on Facebook and Instagram at Buffalo Sports Collective and on Twitter at Buffalo Sports Go. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye!